Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Intuitive Insights. Today is Sunday, January 19th, and I am Dr. Yolanda Dukes, your host. I have an awesome guest scheduled for you guys today, Reverend Melvinia Ford from Lebanon, Tennessee, here to discuss her experience or spiritual awakening and going through the dark night and what tends to happen, those thoughts of suicide or even actions of suicide. She's going to share a very personal experience with you guys today. Melvinia, welcome. Hi, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am awesome. How are things in Tennessee this morning?
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate
Always.
it. It's awesome.
There's no show without the guest, girl, so thank you for volunteering. I appreciate your time.
And always wanted to be on.
So our subject today, we're going to be talking about your experiences through the dark night. So you had a spiritual awakening, correct? And what was that like for you?
Wow. It started so many years ago, but the one thing that I noticed in the whole process of it was I was different. I knew that about myself. And I was always the child, even growing up. I questioned everything, literally, which got me in a lot of trouble, but, you know, I was always that one. I had to know why. Why? And my sisters used to tell me, you need to be So just the basic answers, even when I started going to church, were never enough for me. Never. And there was always that why. It never left me alone. There's something more to this. I just didn't understand it. And when you're a child, you're not allowed to ask questions. So you're just, okay. You just kind of like go with the flow, but it doesn't feel right all the time. So in my adult years, it kind of quieted a little bit in my young adult years, but then I started having visions and I started having dreams and things started coming to pass from those visions and dreams that I actually experienced. Wait a minute, I just had that dream. Wait a minute, that just actually happened. So that became the questions, what's going on with me and why? It got darker when my life started changing and things started happening to me and I couldn't understand why and how I ended up in these situations, and it spiraled from that point just out of control. And I felt like, okay, I'm over this. I don't understand why it's happening, and I'm ready to leave now. Literally, that's where the beginning of the suicide came from. But even after that point, I still had a lot of questions because I was still in church even after that. And I began to push back, that why wouldn't leave me alone. And something inside me kept saying, you need to start studying for yourself, find out the answers. And that began my journey. And, I was still dealing with a lot of things in life, even attempted suicide, contemplating it again. But I knew that wasn't the way to go. I just knew there was more to my life and the answers that I didn't have. So all the things that everyone was telling me not to do and don't believe this and don't believe that, there comes that why again. So that's always been me my whole life. Why? It had to make sense to me.
It seemed like as a community of people of color, we are told that a lot, and to stop asking questions and you're just being nosy or you don't really understand. And that was not my feeling from very, very early on. I'm like, if you're going to try to explain to me who and what the creator is, and the creator knows me more intimately than anybody, then the creator knows how to answer my questions and knows that I need answers. So you're just telling me to have faith and sit tight and wait on things. That didn't settle right in my spirit. But what you said about contemplating suicide, what kept you, what thought in your mind said this is not the way to go? What kept you here with us?
Well, I attempted suicide twice. The first time I was in California, actually both times I was in California, and my son was little. The first time I was out at the bay, a pier, and I had my sinus medication with me because that was the only thing I grabbed, and that was the only thing that really would put me to sleep, to rest. I went out to the pier, I remember to this day, and I just sat there, and my peace was to look at the water. And while I'm taking these pills, I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm just tired of it. And I heard the voice. There's a voice saying, not like this. And I just sat there and cried. It didn't give me peace, but it was like, oh God, really? Seriously? Are you serious? No, but I said, okay, I found the energy to at least get myself back at home because I was the medication was literally making me sleepy. And I didn't want to be stuck out there. I hadn't taken enough to put me out that far, but I needed to be somewhere where I could sleep. Come to find out, I had told someone that that's what I was going to do, and they thought I was at home. They had sent the firefighters and paramedics there after me, but by the time I got home, they had left. So fast forward to a year later, I'm back in that same mental space again because life again got hard. Took pills, someone found me, had me drink this crazy little concoction they give you in the ambulance, and my life all of a sudden it was like a movie. From that point forward, it was like I'm in the hospital, they have me handcuffed to a gurney. I'm like, I'm suicidal, but you have me handcuffed. I'm not gonna kill anybody. What are you doing? So after that, fast forward to the van that picked me up, took me to the psych ward. Now, mind you, I feel like I'm in a whole nother world at this time. So it's like unbelievable. I'm like, is this really, I'm saying this in my head, is this really happening? I get to the psych ward, they're asking me questions. I'm like, I'm in a movie. I'm gonna wake up real soon. The whole process, it was about 2:30 in the morning. They get me into the community room where I had to stay because they didn't have a room for me because they didn't know whether I was gonna come or stay. Again, I'm crying, and there's that voice again, not like this. And I'm like, okay, fine. I didn't have the answers. I didn't know which way to go at that point. I just knew not like this. That's all I had to hold on to. So it went mental for me. I was like, okay, in order to get out of this place, I had to fake everything. Now, I don't know how a person can actually do that, but I did it because they wanted to drug me. They want, do you want some medication? No, I don't. And you're thinking when you're in here, they're helping you. They talk at me. Well, you know you were wrong for this, and you should have did this, and you should have did that. And when you're in that suicidal place, that's the last thing you need is a doctor or a psychiatrist or whoever. Tell me, wait a minute. In order for me to get past this, I need to change this whole scenario. So the next doctor or two that they had me, I think I talked about 3 or 4 doctors that day. So by the next 2 doctors, I'm like, tell them what they want to hear. This is how you're going to get out of here. And that's exactly what I did. I played the game. I played whatever they had me do. I said whatever they wanted me to say. I got out. I was in there literally like 12 hours. 2:30 in the morning till 2:30 that afternoon, they released me. I got picked up and I went home and I sat on that bed and I was still dealing with a dark night. Totally lost. And that, I'm gonna be honest with you, which was crazy to say. You wouldn't think it then, but now that I look back at it, that was the beginning, literally, of me coming up out of it, because the questions were still there, but I was determined to find the answers, and I began to find my voice. I went through all the phases of what you would say Alcohol Anonymous person would go through. You know, the stages, the anger, the blame placing, all of it. It took literally 20 years. I'm going to be honest with you, 20 years when I look back at it now, for me to finally come to full circle and go, oh my God, I went through all of that to get to where I am now, and now I understand it. I'm not angry about it. I know it was for a reason. When I told my story, finally, I wrote my book. That was a part of the healing process. You know, I had to go back and do a lot of, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. It might not be. I don't know if you would call it Akashic healing, but a lot of things that happened in my past, then at that time as a kid, as a young adult, as then in California, I had to go back and clean it all up. And I had to literally own up to my piece of it as well. It was hard, truly hard. Even this year, earlier this year, I had to speak to someone and say, you know what? I'm okay now. 10 years ago, when you asked me for forgiveness, you tried to the best way you could. I thought I was healed, but I wasn't. And now when I say it, I'm at peace and I can let go and I can move forward. And I know there's more cleaning to do, but from that space in my life, I'm more open now to where I can receive the healing and give healing and be able to be at peace and move on. That way I can receive whatever else source has for me to do in my life, because I'm supposed to be out here to, you know, to be a servant, you know, to help others heal and to live a prosperous life, however, whatever that means. And it's a fight. You know, you have to remember those things. So a lot of the things that I do now with meditation and affirmations and all that, I believe it's real. You know, a lot of the things.
That's one of the things that the dark night definitely does with the spiritual awakening is you begin to take responsibility for your life in ways you never thought you would. Because we were always taught, you know, put it on Jesus. And I'm like, but there's got to be more to it than that. And it's not a denial of religion. It's saying that some things people are teaching just simply don't make any sense, you know? And tell me about your book. So you wrote about your experience. Is your book available somewhere now?
Yes. The name of the book is called, okay, there it is. I had to think about it. It's called What the Hell, A Life Testimony. And it's available on Amazon. You can get it by, you know, hardback, or you can get it on Kindle, either way. But it pretty much tells, you know, some of the stories that I went through in life, even the suicide part of it, and, you know, how I made it through that piece of it. But, you know, this book is actually going to be a sequel, because I knew that wasn't the end of the story. People needed to know, okay, well, she got through that. She made it through that. So what's the next part? And I started to try to restart that book up like 2 years, 3 years now. I could never get it. And I'm like, why can't I get this book done? Which is pretty much the same way trying to get my master's done right now. But it's like the story has not been told. It wasn't finished yet in my life because I was still living it. So part 2 is just about ready to be written. I started it, had titles, you know, the way I wanted it to go. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, wipe it out. Nope, that's not it. I'm like, okay. So I want people to know that there's more to just that one piece of it. You know, you get to a point in life where you heal, or you have to face your healing. You have to face your past. You have to, because you cannot move forward. But also, you know, okay, well, what happened after that? I think people truly need to know that, because they need to know that they can make it and that they can actually take the next steps. What are the next steps? We don't know until we actually just dive into it, you know.
So where did that take you from all of that, the tumultuous activities and the thoughts and the attempted suicide? What has that led you into today?
Today, it has always been my goal and my heart to help. And if I were to go specific, I would say women. And I say specifically women because we take on a lot. We seriously take on a lot. You know, we're looked at to be the mother, the father in some instances. I mean, you know, depending on your life that you've led, you probably were that elder sister that had to take care of the siblings because either the parents were working jobs, or it was a single parent that wasn't home, or, you know, you never know. you've dealt with loss of parents. You just never know what that woman's had to take on with trying to be strong for the spouse or strong for whoever else, anyone else, you know, and we always seem to put ourselves on the back burner. We always feel like we don't get to cry. I've been told that in so many instances. Well, if they see you cry, then they think you can't handle a job. And it's like, well, that's a part of who I am. So I want to help women realize, no, you get to live, you get to have a life, you get to have a voice, you get to be who you're created to be. You know, the box that we get put in, wow, it's amazing. And that's where my fight came from. I mean, I was told, don't let your hair go gray because it's going to make you look old. Don't dress this way, dress that way. Don't let your natural hair grow into a fro because that, you know, you had to have this quote unquote symbolism, the way I look at it, in order for the world to accept you. And I'm, you know, that wasn't me. That was never me. That wasn't how my father raised me either. You know, all the other kids had all the fashions. They had the Converse, they had the nice clothes, they had the, you know, the stuff that was always the toys that everyone else had. I didn't have those. I had good toys, I had clean clothes, I had nice clothes, but my dad never put me in that box of you know, whatever everyone else has, we need to have. I just wasn't like that. And I've never been into that. I've always been my own authentic self. And I thank God for my dad for doing that, because I didn't get caught up in it. You know, I wanted it sometimes, but when I look at it now, I'm like, I'm very glad that I don't have that stuck in me, because it causes you to get stuck in a cycle and you can't find yourself because you're so busy trying to accommodate everyone else and their likes and dislikes without realizing that you have your own individual eccentric mentality, creativity, whatever it is, characteristic that is supposed to shine out above anything, you know. And sometimes that may mean you may make people maybe a little upset. I don't even want to say upset. I just want to say to the point where you could trigger them. And that's another word that people aren't happy about. They don't like the word trigger because they feel like, well, don't say this word or don't say that or don't do this and don't do that because it could upset someone. But after going full circle with suicide and hearing people say that, not to do it, like, no, that's exactly what you need to do. These things need to come out of them so they can heal, so they can be fixed. So my goal is to let people know, let it out, let it go, face it, deal with it, breathe through it. Yes, it may take a long time, but at least you're dealing with it. You're taking the steps, but to avoid it, you're not healing. And I get it. Everyone's at a different space, so you can't rush them. Everyone heals in a different way. I get that as well. It's just let that person be who they are on their terms, because eventually source is going to link up with them. However, source links up with them, and that healing is going to come, and they're going to come out of it. You just got to love them through the process. And that's what I want to do.
Most definitely. Because the whole spiritual awakening process is your soul waking up, and it's looking at the world going, there's other things that you could be doing here. It's time excuse me, it's time to get on your purpose. And when you don't have any idea what your purpose is, because I know I surely didn't. I didn't wake up one morning and go, hey, my life is completely in order and everything is wonderful. It took a lot of disappointment. It took a lot of letdown. It took broken relationships. It took, you know, leaving my state. It took a lot to say, you know what, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do this morning, and I'm going to help people, and I'm going to figure out who I am. And if you're out there and you're listening, it's all right to feel hurt. It's okay to even be on the verge, but we want to keep you off the verge and let you know that you're not going crazy. It's just your soul waking up, and you will get through this, but not without tears and not without heartache and not without loss. But what comes back to you, it's like a rubber band effect. For all the things that you lost in the relationship that goes away, the clarity that comes, the the loving that comes after, the great feelings of dealing with living your purpose and helping people, that all comes. So there will come an end to that dark night. It does last a while, longer for some people. Yours was really long. Mine was probably about 3-4 years. And who's to say what's going to happen in the future? There may be others as I, question reality and wonder what the heck is going on in the world. But it all comes down to you and what's inside. And your awakening is going to pull that out of you. Exactly. And the pain part comes in is because the things that you've been taught, these belief systems that we need to fit into this box in order to get that job. We need to have this sort of education in order to get here so that we can think about retiring. We're just started in the workplace and you're talking about retiring already. We haven't even done anything just yet, So your life is, society plans this life out for you, and it's tricky. It's absolutely tricky, but I couldn't live underneath that plan. It wasn't for me.
No. No, it's draining, and I felt like a deer in a corner, and I found myself to the point where I was fighting back, and I literally had a mentality of, I really don't care who I upset at this point. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but I need to find who I am, because this is not making me happy. It's actually causing me to get depressed again, and I'm like, I don't like feeling depressed. So yes, let's agree to disagree. And if you feel like you cannot be around me for my beliefs or whatever your beliefs are, okay, I respect that, but I had to break free. Literally, it was painful. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So, letting my hair grow natural, letting it do what it wanted to do when it wanted to, it might have been a lopsided fro. They didn't, what is wrong, honey? I mean, I've had some compliments. I finally let my hair grow out gray because it was trying to come out, and I kept coloring it. I'm like, okay, I'm over this. I'm just gonna let it go. And
it is beautiful, by the way. Anybody look at her intro. It is really beautiful, by the way. So whatever people are saying, no, ignore them. You have to do you, Oh, well, don't do your hair short or whatever. I don't care. I don't care what you think. You're not living this life. You're not living in this body. I don't care. So are you blogging now, or what are you moving into now? You have a website.
Well, I have a few things, that's funny, because I've been watching Gaea. Have you ever heard of Gaea? It's a website that you can go to. I love it. Oh my God, that's my new TV. I have a TV that I barely watch, literally, but I look at Gaea all the time. So it's been helping me, and I'm like just trying to live in the moment. And as the moment comes, it tells me what to do. So basically, I do have a website. It's on WordPress, Rebirth Dimension. And I started it, and this is how I knew I needed to kind of just take a break from everything and pull back and sit still, because I'm like, okay, what am I doing? I'm doing this, but am I really impacting anyone? I needed to know that. So I had to stop. But I still have my blogging. I also have a podcast. And also now I have been so encouraged today. It just hit me. Thanks to you too. So you have been a really big source of encouragement. You have no idea, over the last couple of days, I am getting ready to start I don't know what you call it. It's a segment like this, I'll interview women about things on survival and things on whatever they've been dealing with, bad relationships, depression, things like that, and how they came through it. So this is big for me, because it's always been about women, helping them get through. You are a fighter, you are a survivor, That's one of those things in me was like, okay, I'm about to make you mad, and if you don't like it, I don't care. That's just how the mentality. It's like I like who I am. It's just helping women find that fight in her, because we are fighters by nature. We're stronger than we really think we are, and it feels good to just be able to be free. If you want to just run with the wolves. I look at it as that book, She Who Runs with the Wolves. That is a very freeing book. It's like when I first saw the subject title, I was like, wow, how does she run with the wolf? And it just, you didn't even have to know the understanding of the book or what it talked about. It was just listening to the title. I was like, I could do that. I don't know what it is, but I can do it, and I want women to understand that. So I'm blogging. I'm doing a podcast. I'm working on the new segment now for women, healing and health, because I just believe it. But I also want to do my work in my Reiki healing. I want to help them to understand that, yes, you can find it inside you, within you, to get that healing that you need. It's in you. It's there. Its source is in you. I just want to pour out from my experience and, the things that I have learned in the classes that I've taken. I just really want to help women find themselves and walk the path that they're supposed to walk.
That is absolutely wonderful. And you are on that path. I see it in you. I feel it in you. And, one of the questions that people ask, or even that I thought myself as I'm going through this process, like, who would ever come to me? Who is going to ring my number and say that, can I set up an appointment? But we have to take into consideration where we are, everyone is not. And we are helping those that are trailing along and trying to figure out their path. So there's always somebody behind you, just like there's always going to be somebody ahead of you. And all we're doing is just extending that olive branch to say, you do matter. We do care. It's that's what we're here to do, to help you to find your purpose. And one of the things that does that as well, which I'm sure you can testify to, is the University of Metaphysics. You see, you are a student there as well. You said you're working on your master's thesis. How did you find the school? And at what part of your awakening did you find it?
Actually, it was right before I moved here to Lebanon, Tennessee. I was living still at home in Michigan. And 2017, I was still on that journey before I even heard about university, of awakening and releasing. I started meditation, but it wasn't really hitting me like that. And I started just diving into things that I knew everyone kept telling me, no, you shouldn't, but I was too curious. So what I ended up doing, I met a friend that she came back to me and she apologized. She said, can we meet and have lunch? I'm like, and I was not expecting to hear from her, because the way she and I had, I don't even know what happened. It was just one moment we were okay. Next minute we just went this way. And I'm like, what just happened? I don't understand. So she came to me and we talked and she apologized. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But then she's the one, like, I was still in Michigan. She's the one that told me about the University of Phoenix. And I'm like, yeah, but I have other degrees and I have to pay on them and I don't have the money to da-da-da. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. She started telling me about it more and more. So I looked it up. Still in Michigan. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. I'm gonna join it. And she told me how much it was. And I'm like, that's what I got? For real? Seriously? Okay. But it took me, what was that, 2017? I kept looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then another 6 months go by. Okay, I'm gonna do it. So I literally did not sign up for the university until last January. Did the volume go out? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
It's just temporary. Okay.
So
you checked out the cost, and I know I was stunned too. I was like, what?
Right.
But we're not going to tell you how much it cost yet, because I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Exley next week. So
okay, cool. I love her. Oh my God, I love her.
Oh yeah, I cried all over her during graduation. It was awesome. And you've got to go to the graduation ceremony.
I cannot wait. I'm like, that's going to be the best graduation I'm ever had in my life.
Oh my! It didn't get real for me until graduation. And as I'm sitting there amongst my peers, and a little boy cries out, "I want to graduate too!" And that's when I start bawling, because that's when it hit me. we're here for the next generation. And we're showing these kids that there are alternatives. You don't have to graduate in a ton of debt. And there are valid career opportunities. You know, I didn't start it because I thought this was going to be a new career. I had just got my bachelor's degree in legal studies. And I thought I was happy where I was. So I thought, okay, this is just going to be a little personal thing, you know, that I'll just, you know, do on the side, you know, continue what I was doing. But, you know, the universe had other plans for me, and here we are.
Yes, yes.
But that's awesome. I'm so glad that you made it through your experience. I am so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you're living your purpose. This is what you're meant to do. And if you want to use this as part of your podcast, you may. I can send you a link to get you the audio for that. And is there any closing words that you want to say to anybody out there?
Normally I would. The only thing I can tell you is what I tell everyone when I'm working at work or wherever. Whatever you're dealing with, before you take action, stop and just take a deep breath before you react. Because sometimes that first reaction could just be the worst reaction. So if you just take time, breathe through it, something better is going to come for you, and it's going to help you a lot more.
And I want to tell people that suicide is not an answer. And the reason why it's not an answer is because whether you consciously understand it or not, you made the choice to come here in this lifetime to be born to the people you were born to. And regardless of how dark it seems, it's going to be okay. You came to be that light in the darkness. That's why finding your joy and finding your happiness is so incredibly important. It doesn't matter if people are pulling you down. You need to find it within yourself. Find your joy in everything that will work out for you.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and thank you so much, Melvinia, for being here. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Bye.
You're welcome.